A skeletal dragon tears through Moipa's city, turning its supposed slaughter zone into pure chaos as defenders realize one border-crossing player, Bai Ye, somehow brought an entire undead apocalypse. Even Zichuan, president of the Desolate Ghost Guild, admits the power gap is absolutely ridiculous because Moipas has no answer for the Flaming Legion overrunning its battered walls, and the terrifying necromancer controlling everything is just one calm, black-clad player. He orders his forces forward, then pulls even more power through a skull-topped staff, yet the swarm still feels insufficient for a second life inside the Myriad Worlds game, where growing stronger means escaping the 1 HP and single year of life he once had. Several months earlier on Blue Star, however, the future monster lay trapped inside his own home. Hearing Lu Ruyan warn Su Mubai not to haunt her after dying, still conscious beneath the mask, he panics when she begins unplugging his life support equipment, but his supposed fiancé coldly insists the barely responsive man is already as good as dead. Lu Ruyan claims the betrayal is for his benefit, delivering villain logic with zero shame. While Blue Star's former #1 player rages inside a body that refuses every command, that private nightmare gets worse when Zhao Shu barges in and demands she finish the job, mocking her hesitation and wondering whether she actually caught feelings for their helpless target. Su Mubai finally understands his classmate's visit when Zhao exposes their inheritance scheme, revealing that this conspiracy began 5 years earlier and survived even a deliberate car crash. The shameless pair complain that he lived, but promise nobody can save him today, and with one brutal yank at his breathing tube, they order the trapped player to die. Instead of checking the result, Zhao Shu and Liu Ruyan start celebrating beside the dying man, then leave for another room because apparently betrayal still needs the correct romantic atmosphere. Unable to move, Su Mubai realizes the pair had targeted him from their very first meeting, while his fading heartbeat leaves him furious at being forced to wait helplessly for death, until one final surge of refusal carries his consciousness away from the failing body. Rather than disappearing, his mind enters a purple digital void and stubbornly rejects the ending, as frightened people across Blue Star spot a colossal door forming overhead in the sky. The structure announces that their world has been selected for the Myriad Worlds game, where every participant starts fresh before universal transmigration begins in only 30 seconds. System knowledge floods every mind, leaving civilians stunned that wealth offers absolutely no premium pass, even as the scheming couple realizes their nearly claimed fortune can follow them into the game, and Zhao Shu laughs that any living person qualifies, though their victim supposedly cannot survive the countdown. But when transmission starts, both conspirators dissolve into digital light with everyone else. While Su Mubai recognizes this impossible event as a genuine second chance at life, with nothing left to lose, he grabs that cosmic respawn and refuses to surrender. Just as purple energy sweeps across Blue Star and begins transferring its entire population, some people panic while others welcome the reset, but nobody gets permission to stay behind. The current deposits him alone at the floating Descendants Temple inside a violent purple vortex, where standing under his own power again confirms this strange reality is no dream. And a body scan welcomes him as a descendant, then requests the name for his new identity. He confirms Bai Ye as his new name, finally linking Blue Star's fallen champion to the future necromancer. Before the Starry Sky Hall explains that every player awakens one talent ranked from F to SSS. Knowing power begins with that role, he braces himself and hopes the gacha gods behave, and somehow lands promotion, a forbidden S-grade talent far beyond anything he expected, whose 3 modes upgrade items by 1, 2, or 3 grades with rising costs and a catastrophe trait. The system immediately opens class selection, blasting the temple with possible combat paths, split among physical, magical, defensive, and support roles, while Bai Ye weighs warrior against mage, only for his terrible starting attributes to eliminate nearly every option before he can choose. Necromancer remains the sole compatible class, making this character build hilariously and completely non-negotiable, so the system locks it in while he protests never receiving an actual choice. Still, a skull-bladed staff and undead magic make the forced class look surprisingly promising, until his status window reveals a permanent maximum of exactly 1 total HP, with 1 year left to live, meaning even a scratch could delete this overpowered setup instantly. But retreat is impossible, so our boy decides to gamble on the talent instead. Promotion can target items, and a class might count under the system's suspiciously broad wording, prompting him to invoke catastrophe despite its usual price of 100,000 years. A single free use covers that absurd cost, and Bai Ye confirms without hesitating, transforming Necromancer into the hidden Death Sovereign class with 15 attribute points per level, plus lifelink, summon enhancement, the Book of Death, and a fresh catastrophe trait, and armed with a broken build, he vows to make both traitors taste despair. The countdown ends with a brutal rule. Death costs levels and 10% of remaining lifespan, though Novice Village Protection temporarily removes that lifespan penalty as Blue Star's players materialize together. Bai Ye arrives in Shenlong Empire Novice Village 927, surrounded by rookies already dreaming of domination, but ignores the party spam and heads beyond the gate to test his own skills. Summon Little Skeleton is an F-rank spell whose weak minion scales from the caster's spirit, while Soulburn offers another F-rank option, dealing sustained magical damage from 30 meters. Neither looks impressive, but the Death Sovereign upgrades gave him two much nastier tools, starting with A-rank Lifelink, which shares one summoned Undead's HP with its master, followed by S-rank Summon Amplify, boosting summon stats and capacity while halving casts and cooldowns, and that combination patches his 1 HP Nightmare, provided a minion remains linked and alive. Before testing it, the Book of Death finally manifests beside him in a burst of gold, revealing itself as a bound law-type grimoire that unlocks exclusive skills while leveling with its owner. The book offers nothing useful yet, so he channels Blue Soulfire and summons his first skeleton, only for the spell to spit out 2 armored undead warriors instead of 1, because Cataclysm doubled every skill effect, with 2 additional bonuses locked behind higher levels. Although the twin summons look modest enough to keep his excitement under control, until a bald armored player assumes Bai owns an A-rank talent and proposes a party. But the newly minted summoner politely refuses because solo grinding fits his plans better, prompting the rejected stranger to mock summoners as too weak for even a wandering chicken. While entire groups of level 0 players outside are already losing that exact matchup. The so-called beginner mob is a level 1 walking chicken with 100 HP and 10 attack. Yet nearby players stop grinding long enough to admire the 2 powerful skeletons trailing their master, who leaves their chickens alone because an S-rank summoner needs something worthy of the hype. A rustle deeper in the forest provides the answer before he even finishes looking. As multiple dark shapes burst from the brush and surround the small undead squad, the attackers are level 2 red-eyed rabbits, stronger chargers capable of turning careless rookies into punchlines. But the skeletons absorb their opening rush and immediately trade heavy slashes back, letting their master summon 2 more fighters before ordering the growing squad to shred everything. 4 flaming blades descend together, deleting the rabbits before they can launch another charge. And the cross-level kills award bonus experience, pushing him rapidly toward level 1. Lifelink also attaches to 2 skeletons, giving his single HP body twin 400-point backup bars, so he keeps only 4 summons visible for now and quietly continues grinding through the forest. While other players recognize a top-tier talent, their guess is arriving alongside Baiye's first level up, which grants 15 free points that he splits into 11 spirit and 4 agility for damage plus survival, before realizing promotion can directly upgrade every skill in his increasingly unfair loadout. One click evolves all 4. Stronger summons and flames, Paz, Lifeshare, and Death Muster, which spreads uncriticum damage across every undead and raises his potential army toward 20 skeleton soldiers, so with nearly 9,000 shared HP possible, hiding this build suddenly feels completely unnecessary. And since the skills received free upgrades, the exclusive grimoire deserves the same treatment, turning the Book of Death into the level 1 Death Codex with 15 bonus spell power. 15 spell power feels underwhelming, so Baiye shelves the Codex mystery until level 10, then sends his growing undead squad charging into tougher prey with absolutely no chill, and rather than stopping at 4, he begins filling all 20 summon slots at once, because Death Muster and Cataclysm turn skeleton production into a 2-second assembly line. The army immediately shreds multiple level 3 Claw Cat demons, earning 5 experience per cross-level kill, and that ridiculous farming speed pushes their commander to level 2 almost instantly. With more soldiers pouring forward, he keeps the skeletal blender running through every mob ahead, and half an hour later, the march reaches Mist Forest, the region's first proper dungeon, where a warning questions his solo entry until the undead squad makes that concern look adorable. Difficulty ranges from normal through hard and nightmare to the appropriately unhinged hell mode, which Baiye selects without hesitation because subtle risk management has clearly left the chat, and the Crimson Portal accepts hell difficulty before dragging the entire formation straight inside. Dropping into fog so dense that even the road disappears after a few steps, he sends the skeletons ahead to find a path and kill whatever blocks it, confident that a 100-meter control range will keep his scouts connected through the mist. Their first discovery is a level 8 elite Mist Treant carrying 3,600 HP and Entangle, a serious jump in difficulty that still looks like excellent prey to this necromancer. But one sweeping green strike activates Entangle across the surrounding undead front line, wrapping thick vines around a skeleton and completely stopping its advance on the spot. Yet even elite damage cannot save the monster once every remaining blade focuses together. The Focus Barrage drops the Mist Treant for 60 experience, proving Hell Mode's elite mobs pay generously. But the fog immediately hides a black serpent, preparing another cheap ambush from behind. Baiye dodges its strangle attack and identifies a level 8 elite Mist Tree Boa, then answers with Burn, landing repeated triple-digit bursts of blue soul fire, before the surrounding skeletons dive in and overwhelm the snake from every direction. Another 60 experience lands, confirming that this dungeon is basically an elite-filled leveling buffet, and although his spirit triples a normal necromancer's, Burn still cannot match the undead squad's damage, while the defeated Boa drops a level 5 black iron belt with armor and constitution, though its leather restriction makes the gear unusable, leaving it as future sale material. He pockets the belt and resumes marching deeper with the boys ready for more work, only for several treants and giant boas to surround the formation from every side. But instead of retreating, their commander calmly starts the harvest and unleashes the entire army, splitting squads between wooden elites and coiling serpents until the clearing becomes an undead workshop. The mass slaughter rockets Baiye straight to level 5 beneath a flood of golden energy, and this absurd growth finally earns a very satisfied celebration from the former invalid. His loot loot includes a wooden magic wand, armor, a dagger, and Entangle plus Strangle skill books, but only the weak wand suits his class, despite raising spell power to 409, while the Death Codex quietly reaches level 5 alongside its owner as well, gaining 75 spell power, 25 to every attribute, and double damage against undead creatures. So better equipped, he deploys every available skeleton and begins hunting the dungeon bosses. Eager to measure the new setup, Bai Ye leads his boys straight toward the waiting boss chamber, where Hell Mode presents one silver-grade boss backed by 2 enhanced elite guards. The Mystery Boa King carries 88,000 HP and 4 lethal skills, including Devour, while each guard exceeds 8,000, leaving even their confident challenger briefly unsure. Still, testing requires commitment, so he sends the entire skeleton formation charging straight ahead, and the guards meet them first, trading crushing coils against waves of blue blades. The king immediately uses Devour and swallows one skeleton whole, erasing it in a single bite, but this summoner brought a sea of replacements, not one precious carry minion. He orders every blade forward while the giant serpent whips its tail through the crowd, and despite those brutal sweeps, both enhanced guards fall for 180 experience each. With the escorts gone, Bai Ye casts Burn and commands everyone to focus the king, only for his blue fire to barely bother the monster's heavily armored head, as the enraged serpent roars back, announcing that the real fight has finally started, while our guy realizes his personal spell damage looks painfully embarrassing beside the army. Fortunately, the skeletons keep carving at its colossal body from every direction at once, until another lunging bite removes one soldier before anyone can interrupt the Devour, and watching summons disappear one by one, he orders an immediate second assault in response. But the king answers with a sweeping tail that smashes several undead apart. Its posture signals an even larger attack, forcing Bai Ye to watch the mouth carefully. As the boa rears back and launches a massive blast of green poison, the poison blast targets him directly, and its enormous damage would vaporize any normal level 5 player. But Life Share gives him over 100,000 effective HP, turning the hit into background noise. Smirking inside the toxic cloud, he fires Burn again and orders the boss to finally die, while blue flames and skeletal blades hammer the serpent through its remaining health. The combined barrage kills the Silver-Grade King for 14,400 experience, securing 2 local first kill rewards totaling 6 basic life soul stones and 6 gold coins. A village-wide announcement credits White Knight, sending every struggling rookie into immediate disbelief, because most players still lose arguments with chickens while this mystery monster solos bosses, and even another elite party regrets missing its own announcement opportunity, though they expect more chances, with their spear-wielding S-rank ace identified as Maple Leaf Xiao Xiao during another hunt, who openly admits that a silver-grade boss remains completely beyond his current strength. Wealthy World concludes White Knight likely owns an SS-rank talent, despite Maple Leaf's S-rank awakening, and Ah Wei suggests inviting the unknown powerhouse while Cotton Candy watches the discussion, so certain no man refuses her. Wealthy World confidently sends the first request personally, only for Bai Ye's screen to explode beneath a flood of identical friend notifications. And busy with loot, he rejects every request together without checking a single name. The first reward proves far more interesting. Each basic life soul stone adds 30 days, so promotion immediately becomes the obvious play for extending his dangerously short lifespan. And 6 upgraded intermediate stones promise nearly 2 extra years, becoming his favorite farmable resource, while 2 unusable skill books and assorted equipment remain available for selling later. Among the loot, only a poison ring seems useful, so he upgrades it without hesitation, producing a gold-grade venomous ring with spell power, agility, spirit, and recurring poison damage. His surviving skeletons still feel pathetic, however, inspiring another costly upgrade to their summoning skill, and the system offers promotion, sublimation, or cataclysm for the current summon skeleton. Choosing sublimation consumes 5 gold coins and overwrites its prior promotion, but he accepts, transforming the F-rank original into D-rank summon skeleton soldier, capable of warriors or archers. Bai Ye eagerly summons his newly upgraded servants, demanding they show their improved forms, and discovers specialized monsters with massive stats, double shot, or a devastating heavy strike, finally giving his Scourge army the power fantasy its commander expects before sending them onward. The upgraded soldiers spread through deeper forest, quickly locating another promising hunting ground, where level 8 elite goblins become targets for coordinated warrior pressure and ranged focus fire, and arrows hammer vulnerable enemies while armored skeletons lock their formation down. One goblin dies for 60 experience, convincing Bai Ye to seek even stronger territory. Back in the novice village, desperate players advertise teams for their own Mist Forest attempts, while a different armored man announces plans to create the Hegemony Guild, drawing immediate skepticism until his S-rank born leader talent reveals free guild creation and huge member-wide bonuses. Recruits swarm him instantly, eager for 20% boosts to experience, drops, attacks, and spell power. However, a server-wide pinned message suddenly interrupts the noisy rush and grabs everyone's attention. Wealthy World spends 10 precious gold coins asking White Knight to accept her friend request, and amused by her extravagant persistence, Bai Ye finally agrees to meet this mysterious rich player. The accepted chat opens with a staggering offer: join her team for equipment and 100 gold, yet he questions both the impossible fortune and whether this stranger deserves any trust prompting Wealthy World to reveal God of Wealth, her exclusive SSS-ranked talent. Its perks generate up to 999 gold daily, compound carried currency, and prevent death losses, making money practically infinite, though teaming with her could expose his carefully protected secrets. Therefore, our cautious necromancer declines, preferring to level alone despite the ridiculous salary. His refusal leaves the wealthy beauty furious while her companions continue hunting nearby, and they admit grinding without proper equipment will only become slower from here. But another message quickly restores her smile before the others can dismiss him completely. Baye proposes selling unused equipment and skill books perfectly suited to their party, so she offers to buy everything, agreeing to wait until his remaining business ends. Certain premium gear is coming. She promises Maple Leaf a dramatic combat upgrade. Just as their group discovers a level 5 bronze wild boar leader carrying 23,000 HP, and the S-rank spearman confidently volunteers to kill the massive boss by himself, everyone transfers recovery potions, removes him from the party, and orders Awe to guard, ensuring Maple Leaf alone receives both the kill credit and coveted system-wide announcement. With blue energy spiraling around him, the Spearmaster launches his opening charge, carving nearly 1,000 damage across the boar before racing beyond its reach, then instantly reversing direction and smashing another glowing strike into the enraged monster. But the leader swings its enormous club back, forcing Maple Leaf into a dangerous close exchange. Maple Leaf easily reads the boar's lumbering counterattack, judging its strength meaningless without enough speed, while Wealthy World trusts his extensive combat experience to finish the solo kill. Elsewhere, Baye's soldiers eliminate a level 9 silver goblin leader, raising their commander to level 6, though collecting the resulting mountain of loot proves harder than destroying the monsters guarding it, and most rewards look redundant or ugly, including a defensive skill and aggro-reducing mist cloak. Only the gold leader's emblem impresses him, granting HP, mana, critical chance, and bonus spirit. He equips it immediately, then senses a frontline skeleton suddenly suffering tremendous damage, with its shared health vanishing so quickly that something far stronger must have appeared. Deep inside the forest, a furious goblin king demands why undead invaders entered his territory. Their presence triggers hidden history, raising every royal attribute 50% and sealing the dungeon exit, but killing this awakened tyrant within 2 minutes promises the Mist Forest's secret plot. Unfortunately, Regu is a level 8 gold boss with over 300,000 HP and vicious skills. Even Baye briefly doubts the time limit, though retreat has already become impossible, so he floods the king with warriors and archers, trusting overwhelming numbers against royal durability, and their first coordinated barrage tears away chunks exceeding 1,000 damage each, until the Berserk Monarch raises his club and unleashes a colossal crimson shockwave, whose damage could instantly erase an ordinary level 5 player but cannot break this shared health army. Calmly declaring Regu unlucky, the Necromancer reinforces his pressure from behind the skeletal wall, landing blue fire atop the king's crown before the furious goblin can locate him, while arrows rip through Regu from multiple angles and accelerate the race against time. Under relentless focus fire, Regu keeps swinging wildly, but the undead refuse to release their target, so the king summons his own warriors, ordering every goblin to shatter these invading bones. And each madness-enhanced reinforcement arrives as a level 8 elite with 13,500 HP. An entire royal mob emerges around him, transforming a simple boss rush into battlefield chaos, which Baye reluctantly admits could complicate his precious 2-minute victory window. Yet his skeleton warriors immediately intercept the reinforcements and preserve the ranged formation. Rigu's furious words reveal old terror of captivity and desperation to protect his hidden clansmen, before Heroic Leap launches the enormous king straight over the front line toward their commander, crashing down beside its master with enough force to crater the battlefield around them. But Life Share absorbs the painful strike, letting him escape without losing his single HP. He summons replacements and orders quick elimination of the smaller goblins before resuming royal focus, while shield-bearing undead brace against axes and keep every reinforcement occupied, giving the archers space to release another disciplined storm of black arrows. Their volley drops several goblins, leaving Regu watching his defenders collapse in disbelief. Refusing enslavement again, the cornered king activates Berserk, trading half his defenses for speed and attack. But Baye mocks the desperate transformation and gathers an enormous sphere of blue fire, until Maple Leaf's first bronze solo kill announcement interrupts him, stealing the milestone elsewhere, though he dismisses that minor loss and returns every ounce of attention to Regu, unleashing Burn alongside concentrated heavy strikes that tear thousands from king and reinforcements, and the combined punishment finally sends the badly wounded monarch tumbling backward. Regu finally dies for 43 SE 200 experience, pushing his conqueror to level 7 and showering him with rewards, although the corpse drops nothing, suggesting the hidden plot has not finished paying out. Meanwhile, Hegemony's founder boasts over his own lifespan treasure, while recruits flatter their unbeatable leader, and hearing Maple Leaf's repeated announcement only convinces those followers to hunt something even grander. Then White Knight's first gold solo boss announcement arrives, instantly crushing their borrowed confidence, as the armored guildmaster wonders whether his terrifying rival awakened an SSS-ranked talent. Maple Leaf's party reacts just as sharply, recognizing how impossible that new achievement appears, though Wealthy World reassures their ace that the game has barely begun and she stands behind him, before they head toward their first dungeon determined to close this frightening gap. Back inside Mist Forest, the timed victory triggers Regu's nightmare and raises dungeon difficulty to disaster. Blue spirit smoke erupts from the fallen king, carrying fragments of ancient suffering into the present, revealing goblins battling necromancers, prisoners behind bars, and Baiye's original skeleton's living identity. Their summoner watches uneasily as the dead ruler's body begins floating before him. Then a colossal burst of soul energy engulfs Regu and reconstructs something far worse. Skeleton King Regu awakens as a level 10 Dark Gold boss with 1.8 million HP, bitterly admitting that even death could not free him from becoming undead again. The reborn monarch summons spectral skeleton warriors and commands them to fight their new enemy, while a massive rune-covered blade forms inside his blazing skeletal grip, leaving even Baiye stunned that such a monster can appear in a novice village. And the Skeleton King answers that disbelief by unleashing a towering eruption of blue power. Rigu's 6 summons nearly equal all 20 opposing minions, each empowered 20% by his death aura, and the Skeleton King orders them to convert every enemy into undead like themselves. Their brutal attack power leaves their master searching desperately for any path through overwhelming defense, when novice protection suddenly disappears, making death cost 10% lifespan with a 10-year minimum. Rigu's Thunder Heavy Strike immediately cleaves through several minions for roughly 10,000 damage, and the resulting lightning blast hurls their exposed summoner helplessly across the ground. Recovering fast, he orders focused attacks against the enemy summons to reduce incoming pressure, but 20 ordinary warriors still cannot overcome the king's defense or sustain this exchange, leaving one suicidal option: absorb his stones, then spend that lifespan on Cataclysm. The stockpile shatters into light as Baiye commits everything to surviving the hidden nightmare, absorbing 15 intermediate stones for nearly 6 years before choosing the safer warrior branch. Cataclysm consumes 5 years, mutating the original skill into C-rank summon skeleton warrior. Laughing at his new advantage, the necromancer summons matching warriors and orders a full charge, revealing hulking units with nearly 70,000 HP, 3,720 attack, and upgraded heavy strike, whose first blows tear more than 12,000 damage each from the surprised Skeleton King. Rigu retaliates just as brutally, smashing his enemy's frontline for almost 20,000 apiece, yet every fallen soldier gives way to 2 more as Cataclysm doubles each summon, forcing the wounded monarch into berserk and sacrificing half his defenses for faster attacks. Exactly the opening he wants, so every remaining warrior focuses one decisive final wave, leaving the collapsing king still unwilling to accept another defeat. The final wave kills Skeleton King Regu for 270,000 experience, raising Baiye to level 8, while first Dark Gold solo rewards add 40 intermediate life soul stones and 60 gold. First clear bonuses pile higher, gems Goldet and 20 more intermediate stones promising over 13 years. Although local records strangely label his completed disaster run merely hell difficulty, outside hegemony recruits swarm the Mist Forest entrance and prepare to claim their own clear, with their armored founder welcoming every volunteer attracted by his powerful guild bonuses, until Wealthy World's fully equipped party arrives and immediately steals the crowd's attention. Hong Tu recognizes the famous rich player and sizes up this unexpected competition, whose entire team wears expensive level 5 equipment that ordinary players can only envy. The rival leaders exchange polite greetings, each carefully measuring the other's confidence, before Hong Tu proposes a wager now that both parties have reached the entrance, betting whichever team clears Mist Forest first can demand a reward from the loser. Victory would force Wealthy World's group into hegemony, perfectly combining money with guild power, while her victory would make his whole guild perform one future task. She raises the price to 3 tasks without flinching, daring Hong Tu to accept, and he agrees just as White Knight's first normal clear announcement rings across the village. Both leaders freeze, realizing their supposedly fresh race has already been decided, but Hong Tu shamelessly pivots toward hard mode, refusing to surrender the contest entirely, only for White Knight's Hell, Dark Gold, and zone-wide disaster achievements to bury him again. Humiliated but stubborn, the guildmaster orders his recruits into the dungeon anyway. With every first clear gone, Wealthy World calmly delays entries while deciding their smartest next move, as another village's hell run shows a long-haired swordsman clashing evenly with Goblin King Regu, his crimson blade deflecting the boss's club through a fierce extended duel. Yet White Knight's announcement makes even this powerful challenger question the newcomer's awakened talent. In Village 9526, Xiaoshu hears the same name and tells Lu Ruyan it feels familiar, teasing whether the mysterious champion might be another former admirer she once discarded, until she recalls Su Mubai used White Knight throughout his earlier gaming days, and the memory instantly turns casual suspicion into a deeply uncomfortable possibility. She says the dead man's name aloud, startling her accomplice despite all logic, but Zhao insists their victim died after he personally removed the breathing tube, though if somehow proven alive, he suggests exploiting Lu Ruyan's charm to seduce him again, and the confident traitor believes no identity could resist her when she truly tries. Far away, Baiye receives a Zone First reward containing 1 S-rank class skillbook and epic equipment, with Death Siphon feedback harvesting corpse energy from 5 nearby targets at once. that stored power can restore health or mana, or temporarily strengthen a summon. He freely promotes the book into an SS rank version, learns it, and celebrates endless mana, then selects the Dead Skeleton King as the perfect first source for testing, extracting 320 death energy in one burst before his upgraded storage reaches capacity. He concludes undead bosses carry exceptionally rich reserves, making future corpses even more valuable, before finding an unidentified scaling epic robe that still requires an expensive professional appraisal. A faint signal catches Baye's attention, but one final corpse search comes first, because killing Regu twice without valuable drops would feel criminal, especially before his promised sale. Then the Dead King finally erupts into a spectacular jackpot beyond every expectation. Coins, gems, gold gear, 4 dark gold pieces, rare materials, and Regu's skill books flood out, while 3 summoning books offer fusion into C-rank Summon Advanced Skeleton. He accepts, gaining Champion, Archer, and Mage options before overriding his former Warrior-only skill. A free promotion immediately raises it to B rank, now producing all 3 Advanced Skeletons per cast, though its 1,000 mana cost is interrupted by a mysterious star-filled crystal ball, which offers the extreme epic quest Hail's Legacy and asks whether he accepts. So he promotes the quest itself into Legendary Dylan's Sorrow, then accepts without hesitation. Now he must reach level 30 within 1 month or lose the quest item permanently, but its temporary legendary form grants massive HP, mana, attributes, spell critical chance, and damage, an absurd haul that leaves even this greedy survivor overwhelmed by his fortune. With dungeon business complete, Baye finally heads toward his waiting buyer, while Wealthy World continues delaying entry, certain he will soon emerge, and the celebrated necromancer steps from the portal directly before her assembled party. He innocently assumes everyone waited to hand him money, overlooking the surrounding spectators, then agrees to conduct their equipment trade openly instead of relocating somewhere private. One gesture summons an intimidating skeletal formation, sending nearby players scrambling backward, while Wealthy identifies him as another SSS-ranked talent holder and praises his enviable power. Baye asks whether she can actually afford the enormous inventory, and she confidently accepts, while his dark skeletal servants loom beside them, keeping every nearby spectator appropriately nervous. He prices common gear modestly but charges 20 gold per D-rank skill book, and Wealthy World immediately produces a heavy sack, proving her confidence carries real currency, as the seller accepts payment before teasing that everything shown was merely ordinary stock. Now the premium merchandise begins. Although his buyer expects another painful financial blow, as gold equipment and C-rank books spill out in quantities her current money cannot cover. She offers partial payment tomorrow under a system contract, removing any risk of betrayal, while one exceptional book alone receives a fixed 500 gold price. Resurrection lets a priest revive allies outside combat and halve non-lifespan death penalties, so Cotton Candy's excitement seals the purchase. With Wealthy promising every remaining coin tomorrow, Baye realizes her confidence must come from God of Wealth's unrevealed effects. Since daily income alone is random, those hidden abilities likely guarantee far deeper reserves, so he proposes another deal. Their party can secure Nightmare first clear and farm Hell, if they surrender every life soulstone already held and earned from that first clear. Wealthy World accepts immediately, trusting his information and their newly purchased strength. Later, his army farms level 10 grassland monsters automatically while their commander relaxes nearby, proving even 1 HP cannot stop life from becoming comfortable when summons handle everything, until reaching level 9 prompts more attribute allocation and thoughts about the missing appraiser, who abandoned his shop to paint landscapes, forcing Baye to chase him across the grasslands. Suddenly, one champion dies instantly, then resurrects fully inside summon space through a new cataclysm trait, meaning something nearby erased nearly 150,000 HP before its master could even react. A stranger calmly praises the Bone Army, confirming the devastating attack came from him, and inspection identifies this terrifying NPC as Huijin, Village 9527's level-hidden appraiser and painter. Annoyed that skeletons ruined his outdoor inspiration, Huijin demands compensation from their nervous owner but rejects ordinary money, treating wealth as beneath a man of his tastes, then requests 100 gold for priceless original painting anyway. The delivered masterpiece resembles childish stick figures, leaving Baye silently horrified, yet survival instincts produce extravagant praise until the temperamental artist becomes delighted, and Huijin offers to appraise anything today completely free of charge. 4 dark gold items immediately appear, making him regret that generous promise, starting with shadow boots that boost defenses, movement, and grant the evasive shadow step. Then bone-heavy armor, bone greatsword, and necklace of the dead reveal formidable set effects. Huijin notes each appraisal normally costs 100 gold and orders bones kept away, but his opportunistic customer stops him by revealing there is still one greater item, the epic whisper of the dead robe, whose grade shocks even this mysterious expert. Unfortunately, Huijin's appraisal skill remains too low to identify it, despite his promise, crushing every greedy expectation Baye built around this supposedly unbeatable NPC, though the part-time novice appraiser argues that limitation is perfectly reasonable, before offering to teach him appraisal so future identification becomes completely free. Naturally, the shameless teacher demands tuition before sharing his valuable secondary profession, setting the fee at 500 coins with a grin far too delighted, except payment must use ancient gold, obsolete currency coveted only by wealthy collectors. He remembers promotion transformed his copper into ancient copper, so gold should work identically, and his existing horde instantly completes Huijian's hidden collection quest for basic appraisal, forcing the startled teacher to abandon his confident assumption that payment was impossible, especially when the young necromancer produces an entire bulging sack of ancient coins, leaving Huijian stammering before wealth his eccentric collector's heart cannot resist. Baiye immediately asks whether this overwhelming proof finally earns the promised lesson, and receives the basic appraisal skill book after completing the hidden quest, plus another mysterious mission demanding 10,000 ancient gold coins for an unknown surprise. A tantalizing future reward that makes this bizarre master considerably more interesting, while promotion immediately upgrades basic appraisal into the superior intermediate appraisal, granting a hidden profession with 60% dark gold and 10% epic identification chances. Confidently, the new appraiser targets Whisper of the Dead and expects instant revelation, only for the 10% gamble to fail and puncture his triumphant pose, yet stubbornness drives repeated attempts whenever the skill's 60-second cooldown expires, until an exhausting chain of failures finally forces temporary surrender. Then the system detects a wild treasure chest nearby, instantly replacing frustration with curiosity, and Baiye races toward the volcanic mountain, expecting powerful guardians and even richer spoils. The promised chest sits atop a stump, surrounded by an enormous pack of hostile prairie wolves, exactly the kind of overwhelming guard force he hoped would protect something valuable. So advanced skeletons surge from blue flames as their master casually orders extermination, and blades tear through reinforced beasts for thousands of damage with every strike, while the startled Wolf King watches its entire hunting pack collapse almost instantly. Desperation sends every surviving predator charging together, apparently hoping numbers will overwhelm two warriors. But the necromancer answers this pitiful swarm by summoning an even larger formation, whose first brutal counterattack hurls wolves through the air like weightless scraps, before armored fists and blades smash the furious boss from every direction, leaving the once proud predator crushed beneath a tightening ring of undead steel, and both Silver King and reinforced elites die before the full army even arrives. Their experience pushes Baiye to level 10, first across Blue Star, earning far ahead. With the battlefield conquered, his attention turns toward testing promotion on the untouched chest, and the forbidden talent successfully raises its quality into an unlocked gold treasure chest, which bursts open under his hand with dazzling golden light and immediate rewards. A gold dead wood staff alongside a gold treasure map, only 2 items but exceptional ones. The map promises another gold treasure outside the novice village, making its destination especially enticing, yet level 10 activates the village cap, blocking further experience until teleporting to his assigned city, so he promotes the map to dark gold, revealing a distant wilderness route beyond Jingli City, while elsewhere an armored fire-wreathed warrior confidently leads his own group forward. Hongtu celebrates when Hegemony secures the village's first hard-mode Mist Forest clear, then boldly announces Nightmare as the next target just before Wealthy World's party clears it, instantly shattering his swagger as the victorious rivals stroll past without concern. Their leader dismisses the impossible speed as simple luck, humiliating him even further. A subordinate's whisper redirects Hongtu's anger toward the supplier who empowered only his rival, and the guildmaster vows Baiye will pay for supposedly opposing him. Wealthy World's exhausted party prepares for hell mode until the regional announcement interrupts everyone, revealing him as Blue Star's first level 10 player and opening their village leaderboard early, where his level towers above every level 5 competitor, leaving the entire region speechless. Hongtu rushes toward the village chief, determined to escape the novice zone and catch up, while Wealthy World's teammates marvel that their trading partner gained 2 levels almost instantly, and she decides their newly earned life soulstones should strengthen this profitable relationship. Dismissing the others before returning to the village through a radiant portal, then warmly approaches Baiye before he can reach the village chief's residence, delivering 10 basic life soulstones from Nightmare's first clear reward as promised, completing their system contract while securing future access to his increasingly extraordinary merchandise. Her satisfied smile confirms cultivating this connection was exactly the strategic choice she wanted, and she requests contact after he leaves, certain their profitable cooperation has only begun, while the necromancer resumes crossing the crowded village toward its quiet administrative quarter, finally locating the chief's modest house and stepping forward to request teleportation. The elderly chief admits no arriver has ever reached level 10 this quickly, but Baiye simply requests permission to leave and continue growing beyond the village, earning solemn approval that these forbidden divine lands will eventually belong to humanity's newcomers, before a hidden teleportation array opens inside the house, linked directly to East Sea City. The chief describes that destination as one of Shenlong's 10 strongest and wealthiest coastal capitals, promising the real journey begins there as the young powerhouse enters brilliant blue light, then departs beneath the old man's weary gaze and quiet, troubled sigh, because an approaching chaotic era will transform this forbidden land and claim countless lives. Meanwhile, Zhao Xu notices the familiar name dominating announcements once again. and asks whether this terrifying Bai Ye might truly be the man they murdered, but Lu Ruyan welcomes his strength, arrogantly believing seduction can enslave him again, as the transfer finally deposits the unsuspecting necromancer inside magnificent EC City. He initially complains that leaving brought no reward, unaware an upgrade is already activating, until the Death Codex rises beside him and reaches level 10 alongside its master, gaining massive attributes plus Soul Drain, which harvests victims while doubling respawns and player death penalties, alongside exclusive rule-bound techniques, making this ominous grimoire far more dangerous than expected. Its pages immediately brand knowledge into Baiye's mind and unlock SSS-rank Death Gaze, an instant-ranged curse dealing true damage, spreading fear, suppressing weaker lives, and crippling resurrected victims, while promotion doubles its damage and range, essentially making anything he watches wither toward death, when a colossal hooded stranger appears behind him, calling his awakening both fortunate and cursed. The newcomer is C2G, East Sea's City Lord, and a Shenlong Hall Elder, whose unfathomable sight instantly recognizes the forbidden sovereign profession powered by death itself. Shocking Baiye, because even the hidden class information cannot escape this expert's perception, yet C2G only warns future advancement will be harder and offers a revealing test. His Forgotten Metal automatically begins an epic mission requiring total exploration of the Land of Forgotten, then starts a brutal 5-minute teleport countdown before any equipment preparation becomes possible, leaving its irritated holder racing around uselessly until space swallows him without warning, and deposits him in a cursed wasteland that must be fully cleared within 72 hours. Surrounded by danger, Baiye immediately floods the barren terrain with advanced undead, including monstrous skeleton mages whose level 9 fireballs now carry more than 10,000 spell power, just as countless shambling enemies emerge from ruins across every direction, revealing an entire army of ordinary level 20 skeletons with 5,000 HP each. One sweeping command releases champions, archers, and mages against the endless horde, whose bodies fall under 20,000 damage strikes despite providing disappointingly tiny experience. So their master decides this dense formation deserves his newly awakened Death Gaze, and one catastrophic stare burns 30,000 true damage through every enemy in sight. The entire wave disintegrates instantly, revealing these cursed skeletons still retain imprisoned souls, which seems perfect for refilling resources through the Death Codex's new harvesting effect. But soul drain remains at 0 despite every apparent soul entering the grimoire, until a mysterious voice explains the forgotten curse has locked all their souls here. The speaker manifests as Road, a level 20 elite soul immune to physical damage, and explains soul drain cannot claim anything until the curse itself is broken, then points across the wasteland toward a towering green beacon containing the source, where countless glowing skeletons surround an enormous chained coffin leaking terrifying corruption. Even Baiye's fearless summons recoil from the structure, confirming something exceptionally dangerous sleeps inside. Yet discovery raises exploration, and destroying its million-point shield promises more despite releasing that horror. Naturally, the Death Sovereign commands his entire force to smash it without hesitation, covering coffin and chains beneath relentless fireballs, arrows, and crushing melee blows, until the shield drains completely and the massive wooden prison begins splitting apart, prompting Road to panic while his confident ally calmly watches something rise. The level 20 Dark Gold Half-Frost Lich Neil, possessing 1.5 million HP and devastating magic. Furious that outsiders interrupted his transformation, Neil orders them to flee before he attacks, then covets the dense death aura around Baiye, claiming it guarantees his ascension, only to face an immediate charge from champions, mages, and every available archer, whose concentrated explosions barely inconvenience the boss while arrows shatter against his body, and his monstrous defenses leave only a few skeletons capable of meaningful damage. Neil retaliates by smashing an advanced warrior apart with overwhelming brute force, but a second arrow storm descends before the arrogant half-lich can celebrate, making him finally question how one outsider commands so many powerful undead, as layered frost shields absorb explosions and arrows while suspicion replaces his confidence. Realizing ordinary defense will eventually fail, Neil channels darker power through his green flames, summoning level 20 ghouls and stitched abominations carrying disease clouds, hooks, and massive health, whose rotting stench nearly overwhelms their target before their claws even reach him. So Baiye answers these disgusting servants by activating Death Gaze again. Life-level Judgment favors the Death Sovereign, instantly reducing every boss attribute by 40%, suggesting his supreme hidden profession itself elevated life level above this half-formed lich, while repeated true damage burns leave Neil staggering with almost no health remaining. Champions simultaneously intercept the ghouls and abominations, tearing through their collapsing formation as their master stands untouched above his defeated rival and orders complete extermination. Then damage numbers erupt across the battlefield while Neil screams against being forgotten, but his death grants 900,000 total experience and launches Baiye directly to level 12. The effortless 2-level breakthrough makes this supposedly epic trial feel increasingly profitable, and Neil's remains drop one dark gold fragment from a mysterious cursed crown, one of 7 pieces whose completed crown constantly erodes its wearer with death energy. Though the boss dropped nothing else, an eventual epic crown makes collecting every fragment worthwhile, while Ecstatic Road celebrates Neil's release and urges rescuing another imprisoned forgotten soul, warning the next target may prove far more difficult despite this crushing first victory, which nearly kills Baye's interest until Road promises additional compensation, producing a skill book he strangely withheld during his own long imprisonment, C-rank Corpse Explosion, an area spell begging to be transformed through promotion. One thought raises it into B-rank Advanced Corpse Explosion with greater damage, radius, and range. Then Neil's abandoned corpse becomes the perfect target for an immediate field test, detonating into a crimson blast that swallows an enormous section of the wasteland, and proves this new area attack can accelerate grinding on an absurd scale. Road doubles beside himself with worshipful praise while his unimpressed savior orders continued movement. Then one destructive hour carries their squad across the vast map to Forgotten Walter. 6 other prisoners already fell during that march, making Walter the 7th and final fragment holder. So Advanced Corpse Explosion erupts from nearby remains before he can properly attack, annihilating the shocked Forgotten Warrior despite his furious claim that none could kill them, and dropping the last Golden Crown fragment beside his motionless body. Baye gathers all 7 pieces and begins synthesizing the long-awaited equipment, ignoring Road's frantic warning that this cursed object will erode anyone touching it, as brilliant light fuses every promotion-strengthened fragment into a completed golden crown, leaving the terrified guide convinced his reckless companion has finally doomed himself. Yet synthesis produces a legendary cursed crown and raises mission exploration to 50%. Its death energy erosion simply fills his storage, with excess energy causing absolutely no harm, but a violent underground tremor makes him form a defensive ring around Road, while a black-purple sarcophagus forces itself upward through the cracking earth, and the spirit recognizes its occupant with immediate, uncontrollable terror, because the crown's aura has awakened Franklin, a lich slumbering beneath the entire wasteland. Road remembers Franklin cursed Sunset Town, revealing himself as its slain mayor and final remnant, then grants 20% spirit through soul possession when Baiji accepts his unique revenge mission, just as the injured level 20 epic Frost Lich emerges with 15 million HP and overwhelming defenses. Franklin mocks Road's survival but immediately senses the repaired crown carrying familiar power, and orders his former relic to abandon its new wielder and return, only to discover Death's sovereign authority completely overrides the crown's original ownership restriction, allowing forced equipment and granting immense attributes, curse resistance, random spell curses, and curse aura. Enraged, the Lich opens shadow portals and summons mounted knights with 200,000 HP each, but the undead monarch welcomes this epic legion and sends his own champions charging headlong, beginning a violent clash between blue-flamed warriors and purple shadow cavalry, while curse aura spreads from the equipped crown across 100 meters, slowing every hostile knight by 30%, so archers, mages, and champions crush them effortlessly. Franklin curses the debuff while watching his supposedly superior summons lose mobility and formation, whereas Baye's new level 15, 2 legendary items, and Death Codex nearly doubled his attributes, leaving him entirely confident as the airborne Lich threatens an inevitable death, and he answers that grand declaration with another casual, merciless stare, triggering Death Gaze's suppression plus an agony curse that burns full spell power shadow damage. Franklin crashes down in disbelief while his untouchable enemy approaches through the devastation, suddenly demanding the identity of someone who can dominate both crown and death itself. But Baye refuses him even that knowledge before continuing the execution. Humiliated, Franklin retreats while screaming that no human may insult a great lich, then raises his staff and vows this outsider will join the buried forgotten, unleashing a colossal frost cyclone that rips skeletons apart and hurls their master backward, before ordering an unseen servant to kill him and seize his extraordinary power. Purple energy tears open the earth as something enormous answers the Lich's command, and a catastrophic roar announces an undead dragon rising from beneath the battlefield. Cacus appears with 20 million HP, epic defenses, death magic, and 90% exploration. Even the challenger finally acknowledges C2G designed a genuinely dangerous trial, when the bone dragon exhales a concentrated death ray directly toward him, only for a champion to intercept the blast beneath an overwhelmingly reinforced shield, leaving Franklin unable to understand how an ordinary skeleton resisted his dragon, because Death Siphon feedback consumed stored energy to boost every attribute by 640%. Better still, the Cursed Crown immediately refills death energy, functioning like a portable endless battery, and the smiling necromancer decides to reveal what this self-sustaining army can truly accomplish, while mage fireballs bombard the swearing Lich from every side, forcing Franklin to answer with Frost Hell, raising an enormous ring of deadly ice spikes. The eruption launches Baye upward as another death ray races toward his exposed body, and Cacus confidently declares no fragile human could survive the direct impact. Yet LifeShare distributes the damage across summoned undead, leaving their master unharmed, though Franklin recognizes the technique and immediately begins searching for its weakness. The Lich unleashes death and decay, flooding the sky with a skull-shaped killing wave, while Cacus follows with Bone Prison, dropping enormous skeletal pillars across the battlefield. Then Bone Spike Hell targets every summon simultaneously to overwhelm LifeShare through distributed damage, forcing Bai Yi to recall unreinforced units before the coordinated area assault can destroy them. Only empowered champions remain outside, preserving the health network while resisting impossible punishment, and one batters through the dragon's interception as its master directs the finishing advance, reaching Franklin despite Cacus diving desperately from behind to protect its summoner, while tremendous damage numbers drain across every connected undead and their stubborn commander, until Franklin mistakes their mounting losses for proof that his human opponent has failed. Instead, another full death energy reinforcement creates a towering champion charging directly at him, and the horrified Lich disappears beneath an execution blow from the gigantic empowered skeleton. As even Cacus freezes before this overwhelming manifestation of undead strength, and Franklin's destroyed body grants 12.75 million experience, pushing Bai Ye to level 17, before Cacus also falls for 25 million, raising him to 19 and granting historic rewards. 50 intermediate life soul stones immediately become advanced stones worth 1 year each, and absorbing all 50 finally ends the lifespan crisis with 51 years remaining. The first Blue Star Solo Epic boss announcement makes Wealthy World's party celebrate their connection, while Liu Ruyan urges Zhao Shu onward, convinced her charms will conquer this rising monster, as Cacus drops an epic dragon bone pendant capable of summoning an epic flying bone dragon mount, and Bai Ye instantly applies promotion, determined to make this reward even more outrageous. Promotion transforms the pendant into a legendary Frost War horn able to summon a frost giant dragon, and one blast opens a swirling portal saturated with immense death energy, whose density nearly overwhelms the new master before the summoned creature arrives, calling him a foolish human as armored claws slam into the ruined battlefield. The colossal dragon emerges sneering at its supposedly feeble summoner, already challenging the bond. But the Death Sovereign's authority erupts like purifying light and punishes its arrogance, forcing the terrified beast to recognize its master and abandon every thought of resistance, before kneeling willingly as his mount, unlocking the slot and completing their contract. A Blue Star announcement opens the regional mount leaderboard early for Bai Ye's achievement, while the dragon shrinks onto his shoulder and claims first place with no competition, revealing a mythic-grade creature with monstrous defenses, resistances, movement, breath, intimidation, and size control. Players everywhere gape at the impossible mount, realizing White Knight is playing beyond their entire world, though several fools dismiss his success as rich man luck while praising their level 3 F-talent boss. Meanwhile, Road senses Franklin's hidden soul casket and urgently guides the dragon's new master, who follows the vengeful spirit across the wasteland toward the last anchor of the Lich, an epic artifact holding Franklin's soul flame behind 1 million durability and preventing true death, making its absurd toughness seem more troublesome than the battle they already survived, until Road insists on handling the relic personally, despite the captive Lich's contempt, then invokes every murdered clansman within him and unleashes their vengeance through the casket, shattering Franklin's final safeguard as the freed mayor thanks his savior for restoring Sunset Town. Road tearfully offers his final gratitude as the ancient curse releases him, while Franklin's true death grants level 20, full exploration, massive experience, soul points, gold, gems, crystals, and stones. Returning to East Sea City, the triumphant necromancer finds no other player has reached level 10, so he decides this empty capital is perfect for testing his newly conquered mount, commands the frost giant dragon to emerge at full size before him, and prepares to ride the colossal beast towards C2G's residence. The dragon launches skyward, carrying its master effortlessly across the silent city, until the watching lord admits this newcomer has surpassed every expectation, yet orders the enormous creature shrunk before it enters his finely furnished estate, because even one careless movement could demolish the entire chamber. Inside, C2G reveals the Death Sovereign exceeds an ordinary Dominator tier class, and agrees to answer questions because the impossible epic trial has been completed, though the system provides no separate reward beyond access to this secret knowledge, explaining 4 class tiers culminating in exclusive hidden classes normally unavailable before level 29, while warning advancement demands experiencing enough death, an ominous requirement Bai Ye accepts. With war approaching the Divine Forbidden Land, Shenlong Hall wants him advancing abroad to support imperial conquest, although national borders have not opened and ordinary travel remains impossible, so the Elder hands him a letter and portrait leading to someone holding a border-crossing treasure, revealing Huai Jian as the contact while a binding contract restricts every future advancement to foreign nations, and promises Shenlong Hall membership at the 3rd advancement before presenting one additional gift. C2G gives him East Sea Order 07, granting unrestricted passage throughout the city, plus ownership of Courtyard 07, an extravagant private estate in this first-tier capital, and casually declares the token permits its holder to do almost anything locally, prompting the vengeful Reincarnator to ask whether that freedom includes killing people, though the startled elder cautiously asks exactly whom his dangerous guest intends to murder, and relaxes when he names only a few enemies awaiting future execution. Riding away on his magnificent dragon, the new property owner explores East Sea City, admiring a vast capital destined to rival the Divine Dragon Empire's central metropolis, before landing outside the palatial estate designated by his new token, where guards immediately block this unknown intruder from entering the private grounds, until one recognizes the shining Order O07 hanging from his hand, and respectfully welcomes Lord White Knight through the gates without further challenge. Stunned by the sprawling courtyard, its new master appreciates C2G's extraordinary generosity, then officially renames the property White Knight Courtyard through the system, establishing it as his permanent East Sea City teleportation and resurrection point, with furnishings already so luxurious that no decorating or relocation is necessary. Finally relaxing inside his mansion, he opens the Death Codex to learn another class skill, and spends all 1,000 newly earned soul points in a single purchase, unlocking SSS rank Death Domain Leap, which grants teleportation, cleansing, invulnerability, and a deadly allied passage, before gleefully opening its blue portal inside the parlor to test this absurd power. A hurled cushion vanishes through the portal and instantly reaches his selected destination. Then he startles a courtyard guard by leaping through personally, confirming perfect teleportation, before attempting the more dangerous trick of targeting his own summoning space, which pours multiple skeleton champions through the gateway without requiring ordinary deployment, effectively allowing his entire undead legion to materialize anywhere, though SSS skills cannot be promoted. Satisfied, he leaves to generate spending money through his familiar enhancement scheme, buying ordinary starstones from merchants, eager for a wealthy repeat customer, then quietly carrying his newly purchased stock toward another shop, where promoting and reselling level 3 and level 4 stones earns over 200,000 gold, funding a confident visit to East Sea City's grand auction house. The extravagantly decorated building immediately reveals itself as a marketplace for serious wealth, but an attendant blocks access upstairs because the second floor belongs exclusively to auction clients, whose admission tickets range from 1,000 to an astonishing 100,000 gold, until East Sea Order 007 identifies him as the City Lord's distinguished guest, earning a free VIP card 007 with notifications and direct teleportation into private room 07. Its privileges halve handling fees and offer an interest-free loan worth 10,000 soul coins. Each soul coin equals 10,000 gold, and contains extractable time energy worth 1 lifespan hour, while his level 1 radiant gems should fetch 9 or 10 soul coins apiece. So he consigns the entire collection for auction under the discounted 5% fee, and receives an unexpected new message while climbing away from the attendant. Wealthy World's party has finally reached East Sea City and messages him for a meeting, only to spot the unmistakable frost giant dragon soaring overhead, as her companions realize their impossibly powerful benefactor already owns this legendary mount, then greet him warmly and credit his equipment for accelerating them beyond hegemony, before delivering the remainder of their trade payment while he prepares to leave. Wealthy World stops him, certain one treasure from her money tree will command his interest, revealing a legendary scroll of destiny whose die can bring disaster, nothing, or increasingly fabulous luck, and the fearless gambler immediately asks her price, treating the risky roll as guaranteed victory, but she refuses to sell because the treasure is bait for deeper cooperation, prompting him to hear exactly what partnership she intends to propose. Another high-level team teleports into East Sea City ahead of the main player wave, reminding Ba Ye that elite S-talent groups and his hated enemies will soon arrive, while more newly graduated players continue streaming through the plaza, so he deploys skeleton warriors and orders them to surround every exit, trapping the crowd beneath an undead blockade as panic spreads. His established allies stay calm, believing their terrifying benefactor must have a reason, while everyone else rages as the dragon's aura cuts their attributes by 20%, and White Knight calmly requires each departing player to pass his inspection one at a time, provoking 2 loud challengers who threaten retaliation inside the supposedly protected main city, until an unseen attack drains years from them instantly, silencing every witness with mortal terror. One furious glance asks whether anyone else objects, and the terrified plaza offers only silence, as his dragon circles above the undead cordon and more newcomers enter below, allowing the merciless inspection to begin without further resistance, while cleared players file through one guarded route under their examiner's relentless gaze. At last, Misty Rain and Rising Sun emerge together from the fiery teleportation gate, instantly recognizing that the feared White Knight is truly the man they murdered, while their victim recognizes the voices he has waited an entire lifetime to hear, though Zhao Shu foolishly trusts Liu Ruyan to manipulate her former fiancé again, and she approaches tearfully calling him Mubai as his smile turns predatory. The crowd scatters from the brewing confrontation, terrified of losing decades in the crossfire, while Liu claims she searched desperately and hears him answer that he also searched. As Zhao pretends loyalty and tells President Su how devotedly she overturned their village, Unaware his former classmate remembers exactly who unplugged the hospital oxygen mask, Bai Ye finally orders his skeletons to give the traitor a taste of what awaits, and the massive undead close around Zhao while his confidence instantly collapses, before blades descend as repayment for the murderer's supposed loyalty, leaving Lu horrified that her former puppet genuinely intends to execute her accomplice, while the bleeding coward begs forgiveness and learns exactly how death feels. Then the reincarnated Avenger turns his killing aura upon Liu and asks whether she wants the same, before a savage strike tears through the confrontation, beginning the reckoning both betrayers earned. Rising Sun's elimination confirms Zhao Shu is dead and his killer declares Liu will follow, leaving the trembling manipulator wondering how completely her resurrected victim knows their conspiracy. Wealthy World warns that mounted city guards are approaching the chaotic plaza, and their griffin-riding commander confronts the honored guest over his enormous public disturbance. So Bai Ye dismisses his allies, promising to continue their unfinished business later, then politely explains that his target has been found and the trouble will soon end. The dragon descends beneath a glowing command while the overwhelmed guards remain speechless, and its master seizes Liu, ordering her brought directly to the Resurrection Hall, as the commander predicts another scene around the city's busiest revival point, yet merely orders his soldiers to follow and maintain public order. Inside the hall, Zhao resurrects furious after sacrificing another 10 years of lifespan, only to see his murderer arrive while dragging the terrified woman behind him, then watch her struck down as Bai Ye asks how that first death tasted. Liu crawls desperately, blaming Zhao and invoking 5 years of love to save herself, but her former fiancé orders the skeletons to return those 5 poisoned years through death, and she screams for mercy as their weapons descend without hesitation, until her body falls motionless and Zhao realizes the manipulator can no longer protect him, driving the twice-betraying coward to kneel and beg his former friend's forgiveness, though the Death Sovereign answers his surrender with cold disbelief, then smashes him down again, demanding the murderer finally repay everything with his life. Both fallen betrayers remain corpses because refusing immediate resurrection can delay revival only 30 minutes, and their avenger calmly concludes the murderous pair finally received exactly what they deserved. When Lu revives after losing another 10 years, she begs desperately because one more death could finish her, but he reminds her that his oxygen-starved body received none of this mercy, then decides killing such venom again would dirty his hands and brutally sends her away. With his revenge complete, the reborn player finally feels free to enjoy Myriad Worlds properly, and the relieved city guards depart after he apologizes for the disruption, while he plans to acquire goods, generate gold, and strengthen his equipment. Though visiting 10 major cities for repeated buying and reselling consumes nearly an entire day, just as Wealthy World messages him again about their unfinished discussion. They reunite inside an opulent private venue prepared for serious negotiations where she immediately promises complete honesty about what she needs, proposing a merchant guild combining her unmatched wealth generation with his overwhelming combat power, but he rejects equal partnership and instead offers her work as his exclusive agent. A bulging sack of purple gems demonstrates the staggering volume his hidden talent can produce, shocking even the SSS-ranked merchant with the wealth sitting casually before her, while he reveals only that consuming resources lets him upgrade items by 1 grade, then offers 1% of profits if she manages every commercial matter connected to it, prompting a counter-request for 10 million gold to fund her class change, plus a soul contract where she handles everything for 5% if he helps complete that advancement. Her God of Wealth talent grants a unique hidden class after personal wealth first exceeds 10 million gold, an impossible threshold through daily money tree earnings alone, explaining her desperate request. And her absolute seriousness convinces Bai Ye the opportunity is worth exploiting, so they sign a soul contract granting him 95% ownership and her complete commercial authority. He immediately transfers 10 million gold and orders his new agent to complete her class change, triggering a radiant transformation into the unique Hidden God of Wealth class, which initially provides only 2 abilities despite its extraordinary rarity, including Money Shield, converting every carried gold coin into regenerating protection with a level-based cap, and an exclusive God of Wealth ingot, granting immense stats while unlocking expensive class skills, much like the Death Codex that supports her new boss's own sovereign profession. The advancement also transforms her money tree into a colossal golden giant, immediately producing 680 soul coins and 1 advanced life spirit stone, which she eagerly hands over and begs her employer to upgrade, prompting him to invoke promotion without revealing its full forbidden potential, and create a rare life spirit crystal capable of adding 100 years of lifespan. Meanwhile, 10,000 city arrivals end beginner protection and open-level equipment and wealth leaderboards, with White Knight leading at level 20, before entrusting his auction via VIP card and property to his agent, then leaving her to handle the auction while he turns in Huijian's quest. Death Domain travel brings him to Yinchuan Waterfall outside Red Maple City, where the appraiser paints, and Huijian greets the remarkably fast visitor without interrupting his artwork. First, the eccentric proudly unveils another childish painting and demands an honest appraisal, so his visitor loudly proclaims it history's greatest masterpiece, instantly winning delighted laughter, before Huijian notices the open Death Codex and recognizes its owner as the Death Sovereign. Bai Ye produces all 10,000 ancient gold coins and completes the demanding collection, promising to remember the greedy appraiser whenever similar valuables appear again, while Weijian gathers green energy into a brilliant sword-shaped reward, granting temporary Shadow Chase Sword Chi as the second hidden quest concludes. A one-use skill carrying 60 seconds of legendary combat power from Huaijin himself. The successful collector then presents C2G's sealed letter and requests another favor, confirming that he needs to cross national borders before ordinary access opens, and Huaijian casually slices a green vortex through the sky to carry them abroad, leaving the surprised necromancer no practical choice except immediate departure. His allies see the enormous spatial disturbance above East Sea City and recognize their boss's handiwork, but Wealthy World keeps everyone focused, confident he will lead them to the summit. As Bai Ye and Huaijian emerge together in the flowered countryside of Tianqi Kingdom, where the newcomer admires its beauty and earns mockery for his inexperience. The first border crossing announcement upgrades his title but brands him an infiltrator hunted by every local force, and Huaijian immediately disappears, claiming other business before his companion can object, leaving White Knight unable to enter the main city and wandering the dangerous outskirts alone, until something unexpected nearby suddenly captures his attention. Enormous dark-feathered demon vultures dive from above, treating the lone infiltrator as easy prey, and one crushing impact drives him violently into the ground before he can react, forcing him to summon the frost giant dragon for immediate aerial rescue, which catches its master and carries him upward against the circling flock. Twin vultures unleash intersecting purple beams that hammer directly into the dragon, filling the sky with a blinding explosion of hostile energy. Yet the relentless monsters continue circling after their coordinated bombardment, so their intended victim orders his mount to counterattack without restraint. The mythic dragon surges into close combat while carrying its commander through the flock, but the vultures answer with volleys of purple charged feathers, forcing a perfectly timed portal to remove dragon and rider from the kill zone, because upgrading Death Domain Leap has extended its maximum range to 1600 meters. The confused birds search for prey that vanished instantly from between their talons, while their smiling target prepares a far nastier surprise through the Death Domain, opening portals above them and dropping multiple skeleton champions directly into the sky, where undead blades batter the flock until the frustrated survivor can barely resist, before White Knight withdraws on his dragon, satisfied with humiliating them rather than finishing the game. Near Lijing City, Tianqi players openly hunt the foreign infiltrator for guild prestige, unaware their quarry has already stepped silently behind the boastful Qichen guild group and now prepares to introduce these loud fools to his numerous undead brothers. Three towering skeleton champions descend nearby, convincing the scattered hunters that elite bosses have suddenly appeared, and the foremost undead executioner raises its massive glowing sword over the terrified prey, before cutting one survivor down and sending the others fleeing toward their assembled guild, whose veteran leader hears that White Knight somehow attacked through three enormous skeleton warriors, then orders every nearby member to gather, confident their numbers can overwhelm an S-rank talent, while privately planning to steal the final blow and its glorious reward. Their elusive target simply relaxes atop a tree, unable to enter Lijing yet perfectly willing to wait, as his three champions march straight toward the crowd demanding a personal duel, only for one challenger to collapse beneath an invisible attack no spectator can understand, and the system confirms another descendant killed at the cost of 1% experience. White Knight promises everyone one remaining drop of blood, ordering his undead brothers to demonstrate true despair, and multiple black-armored champions advance like nightmares toward the suddenly uncertain mob, which recognizes its foreign target and launches every spell, blade, and projectile simultaneously. But a single sweeping counterattack from one champion tears through their coordinated assault, burying the battlefield beneath a violent chain of explosions and desperate screams. The surviving hunters mistake their luck for weakness and foolishly charge the skeletons again, only to discover their frantic weapons cannot even penetrate the undead warriors' defenses, while their master watches with contempt, already anticipating far greater massacres when national war begins. Hope suddenly returns when mounted city guards race from Lijing toward the battered guild, but the armored cavalry identifies the true invader and commands him to stop. Curious about Tianqi's native defenders, the Death Sovereign eagerly sends his summons forward to test them, and a mounted knight charges directly against the leading skeleton champion, cleaving through the undead warrior with one overwhelming flash of steel, which shocks its master into recognizing how badly he underestimated this kingdom's native powerhouses. The cavalry captain spots the exposed infiltrator and immediately leads another decisive charge, but Deathgaze tears away over 40,000 health, leaving the watching players completely horrified, proving the guards manageable, though their territory remains dangerous enough to justify a tactical retreat, so a death domain portal leaves the bewildered captain swinging at empty air. His escape deposits him inside a ruined district littered with corpses and shattered buildings, where the same furious dark-feathered monsters from earlier suddenly descend upon him again, making their target wonder whether these predators slaughtered everyone across the devastated streets, before another instant portal carries him away from their crushing aerial dive, whose missed attack gouges a tremendous blue arc straight through the flooded ruins. The enraged flock wheels around and continues pursuing its slippery prey without hesitation until airborne guards arrive and identify the supposedly suppressed dark-feathered demonic herons, giving the smiling infiltrator exactly the armed distraction their renewed aggression requires. While frightened soldiers prepare to request reinforcements against the unexpected monster resurgence, and their wounded captain wonders who could have broken the creature's restraining seal. White Knight welcomes the approaching chaos, planning to test whether promotion can affect monsters, then deliberately draws the diving flock straight toward the confused city defenders. With one monster selected, the forbidden talent activates directly upon the dark-feathered demonic condor, transforming it beneath golden light into a terrifying legendary boss before the stunned captain, who realizes the invader caused this evolution and desperately orders immediate reinforcements, as the empowered creature's monstrous shadow engulfs every mounted soldier ahead. Knowing their small patrol cannot possibly win, the captain commands an urgent retreat, but one airborne rider is struck down before gaining any meaningful distance, forcing the survivors to lure their new nightmare elsewhere while screaming for rescue, exactly as the grinning mastermind intended before escaping through another portal. The furious captain can only demand White Knight's identity from the fading gateway, while the foreign treasure map guides its owner into Shaifeng Mountain's narrow canyon, where no elite guardian appears, despite the promised treasure supposedly lying nearby, until his foot discovers an unlocked dark gold treasure chest hidden plainly below, providing the delighted freeloader with an absurdly easy prize. Naturally, he applies promotion before opening the chest and expects even greater profit, only to create a locked epic chest requiring 36 space crystals, ruining his free reward. He immediately messages Wealthy World, asking her to investigate and purchase the necessary crystals, then carries the stubborn chest away before local enemies can interrupt, and soon checks whether his commercial partner successfully secured all 36 materials, learning space crystals power teleportation arrays, advanced storage, treasure locks, and defensive magic, before receiving 36 through trade and requesting future purchases of valuable ice or death materials. With every crystal delivered, the treasure hunter finally commands his promoted epic chest to unlock, consuming all 36 materials and receiving an epic ring of luck whose exact attributes remain sealed, just as announcements blame his legendary condor for destroying Sichuan City and double his foreign bounty. Across Jingli City, stranded players debate fleeing, fighting, or somehow surpassing the terrifying invader, while the hunted man reaches ominous Blackbone Valley safely aboard his frost giant dragon, and opens the Death Codex after accumulating enough soul points for another advancement, triggering approaching death, a second-tier quest demanding his health fall from full to 1 within 5 seconds. One spectacular impact completes the supposedly deadly requirement almost effortlessly for someone permanently capped at 1 health, causing life sharing to activate as the system confirms his class advancement success, unlocking second-tier Death Sovereign power, 2 replacement skills, conversion privileges, major attributes, and 50 skill points, which immediately promotes life sharing into SS rank Death Contract, making his contracted army absorb all incoming damage, while Death Conscription becomes SSS rank Death Edict, removing summon cooldowns and massively empowering every undead. His bonded frost giant dragon begins evolving at the same time above Blackbone Valley, breaking through level 30 and formally entering its powerful infant growth stage, leaving its pleased master eager to explore their dramatically expanded combat potential, and determined to turn Apocalypse Kingdom into the proving ground for his undead legion. They approach a fortified riverside city, though the newly legendary condor has apparently disappeared, while suspicious Apocalypse players gather below and quietly organize some secret operation, prompting their unseen observer to invite his enormous dragon down for entertainment, as the group debates nighttime leveling and prepares to retreat if the invader returns. Braver voices dismiss rumors of an undead army and insist they must capture White Knight themselves, until a colossal frost dragon suddenly plunges from the clouds directly above their gathering, blasting the ground apart and scattering every terrified hunter, screaming that the invader has arrived. Leaving that panic behind, its master portals onward into Black Mist Valley near Shaoshan City, declaring this isolated battlefield perfect for the Heaven Annihilation Legion's grand debut, then releases several empowered undead and lets his dragon hunt independently, although the valley's sparse monster population initially seems useless for serious leveling, before an enormous black wind wolf leader erupts from the darkness and attacks, confusing the newcomer because every creature here appears labeled as merely level 1. Yet savage damage exchanges prove these supposed beginners possess tremendous health and power, so their confident opponent decides it is time to demonstrate his newest summoning authority, calling forth a mounted headless knight through a surging blue vortex, then impatiently orders the talkative summon to stop questioning him and kill, prompting one luminous execution slash that tears completely through the massive wolf. The knight's monstrous silhouette briefly shocks even its summoner with unexpectedly ferocious strength, while the level 55 bronze boss yields massive experience, a basic skill book, and wolf fang dagger and golden energy suddenly ignites throughout the other assembled undead, evolving his archers and mages into level 30 skeleton kings with triple elite attributes, while the warriors likewise become hulking skeleton kings armed with powerful upgraded combat skills, finally giving their delighted sovereign enough elite power to form his true skeleton legion. Recognizing Death Edict strengthened every existing summon, he organizes each squad around balanced melee and ranged kings, then laughs that this disciplined force will sweep mercilessly across the entire foreign land, ordering separate units to charge outward and eradicate every monster they can find, whose rapid boss kills raise White Knight to level 31 before one squad discovers something unusual. Their exploration reveals a glowing portal that may lead into a hidden dungeon realm, identified as the level 60 Myriad Poison Snake Cave, where its cautious owner selects normal difficulty and confidently enters the torchlit caverns despite confronting enemies nearly twice his level, assigning the Headless Knight and subordinates to crush this simple dungeon in one wave. Meanwhile, Shaoshan City's officials erupt in anger upon hearing their stronghold has become his target, and their armored lord commands defenders to delay the invader until he personally arrives, because Matsumoto intends to claim the king's bounty and use that glory for advancement, then launches from the chamber so quickly that his awestruck followers barely perceive him, while the level 30 Frost Dragon descends upon Shaoshan City's defenses from above, freezing structures as mounted aerial guards surround the supposedly reckless intruder and concentrate arrows, firearms, and every available ranged attack against its body. One fighter uses his A-rank projection talent to broadcast the promised capture throughout Apocalypse Kingdom, as repeated explosions and rising ice formations batter the dragon before cheering live spectators, until its distant master receives an alert that enemies have dared attack his mount, which arrives perfectly as his dungeon nears completion, though surviving poison snakes still puzzle him, while Shaoshan's airborne defenders tighten their formation around the isolated dragon. Matsumoto personally reaches the battlements, plants his spear, and gives the foreign dragon 3 seconds to flee, beginning his fatal countdown with absolute confidence before the surrounding defenders, only to freeze when something far more unnatural suddenly appears above the city. Portals unleash skeleton kings and unfinished dungeon snakes beneath the hovering frost dragon, leaving Shaoshan's players horrified that poison monsters somehow invaded alongside an undead army, and one trapped fighter can only deny the nightmare descending around him, because their smiling enemy deliberately sent every leftover dungeon mob over as a special playmate. Matsumoto looks upward as another gateway opens directly across his intended battlefield, allowing the mounted Headless Knight to plunge through and enter the defense, then launch Death Charge straight toward Shaoshan's strongest assembled fighters, whose captain dismisses the enemies as ordinary level 30 skeletons and orders everyone forward. Unseen from the distant dungeon, their sovereign promises one carefully prepared, spending 500 death energy through feedback to double a Skeleton King warrior's main attributes, enabling the supposedly weaker undead to block a level 60 warrior's full strength blow, then answer with Heavy Strike for 90,000 damage despite the enemy's overwhelming level advantage. A stunned mounted defender attempts another direct approach with sword raised, but an unseen ranged threat immediately catches his widening attention, as the lethal projectile reflects unmistakably inside his terrified eye, before Fatal Snipe punches through for more than 452,000 damage, leaving the broken survivor unable to understand the slaughter or finish begging. Shaoshan's enraged captain dives toward the nearest Skeleton King and attacks with everything remaining, yet his desperate strike inflicts a laughable 461 damage, terrifying nearby players who finally understand these undead defenses are fundamentally abnormal. Their hidden commander knows Death Contract divides every incoming blow across more than 20 summons, making resistance meaningless as the overextended captain becomes their next helpless target, and a Skeleton King gathers a huge sphere of blue energy for punishment, forcing Matsumoto to activate Shaoshan's Grand Defense Array and every siege weapon before the undead breach. From afar, the architect of this invasion merely wonders how long their defenses can endure, while panicked citizens repeatedly demand reinforcements from the royal capital, where Tianqi's secret society receives the crisis during a strangely tense private meeting. President Qi Yao cautiously asks his purple-haired guest what mysterious objective brought him, but the insolent visitor answers that his intentions concern nobody else, punctuating the dismissal with a golden slash that shocks every watching officer, before levitating inside a storm of radiant blades and shattered tableware. As news arrives that Matsumoto requests help against Bai Ye's assault on Shaoshan, Qi Yaozong orders a reinforcement team outward while privately questioning the stranger's dangerous allegiance, only for the guest to declare nobody may leave while he remains present, surrounding everyone with golden sword energy and inviting them to experience his blade's sharpness, while elsewhere the Death Sovereign ends his diversion and follows a Death Codex quest toward an epic boss, landing inside the dungeon arena to discover exactly what level of monster awaits him. A gigantic azure-scaled snake chieftain immediately whips its violet-charged body toward the intruder, who answers by directing multiple skeleton kings to surround and overwhelm the enormous boss, their opening assault exploding against scales tough enough to resist tremendous punishment, making the smiling commander eager to measure this defense against his entire legion. Skeleton warriors hammer the serpent's armored head with relentless physical strikes. Then mages raise blazing blue fire after their master identifies the creature's resistant skin, launching concentrated magical projectiles to cook the snake into their promised victory meal, while the furious chieftain counters with violet breath amid the undead barrage, Yet even its strongest resistance cannot escape the army's endless elemental bombardment. Their sovereign watches from safely above, certain no amount of toughness can survive this siege, and the level 60 bronze boss dies, launching Baiye directly to level 42 with first clear rewards, after which he simply leads his victorious Skeleton Kings onward through the remaining tunnel, while Tianchi receives a humiliating announcement that the foreign invader first cleared its myriad poison snake den. Local players call the achievement impossible after seeing him only around level 30 moments earlier, but Blue Star's leaderboard confirms level 42, 28 levels beyond both nearest rivals, as the mysterious swordsman descends upon Tianchi's royal capital inside spiraling golden energy, dragging several security officers skyward beneath his overwhelming arrival, until one terrified agent demands the stranger's identity and purpose within their capital. The calm intruder turns back and finally begins explaining why he came, claiming he only needs to collect several things before vanishing toward the castle with guards pursuing. Authorities soon discover the royal treasury completely emptied without a single scrap remaining, triggering kingdom-wide penalties of 1 lost level and 50% reduced monster experience until recovery. Elsewhere, the victorious Death Sovereign admires numerous legendary scrolls and life soul stones before preparing homeward, when the Death Codex suddenly detects clues leading toward an exclusive class equipment set, and erupts with abnormal power that pulls its startled master into a distant vision, revealing Holy Sanctuary Empire, whose strongest organization rivals the Divine Dragon Hall. Recognizing that nation cannot be challenged recklessly, he postpones investigation and returns first, stepping through Death Domain Leap into the familiar streets of East Sea City, where his allies celebrate both the loaded return and news of Heavenly Empress Palace's destruction, then ask him to name their newly available Chamber of Commerce, which becomes Myriad Worlds. Wealthy World formally creates the organization and invites everyone into their ambitious future empire, while her partner accepts membership and immediately becomes Myriad World's new guildmaster, then leads the entire group toward East Sea's auction house for a purchasing sweep, as the wealth leaderboard astonishingly places him first with 36.5 million soul coins, before a server-wide recruitment offers materials, 20 monthly gold, and 5% commission to full-time lifestyle players. The generous contract and powerful name instantly attract crowds of eager applicants who rush together toward Myriad Worlds without needing to supply their own crafting materials, forming a long recruitment line that Wealthy World struggles to process individually, while their guildmaster plans enough talent reserves to expand into auction houses across every major city, confidently promising Myriad World's commerce will cover the entire Divine Dragon Empire within 1 month. Far away, another powerful faction urgently orders its agents to gather intelligence on White Knight, and the notorious assassin Ghost Hand promises the target will die beneath his blade, backed by SS-rank Divine Concealment, granting near-perfect invisibility and a defense-ignoring triple-damage ambush. At East Sea's Lord Mansion, the returning traveler asks C2G for passage into Holy Sanctuary Empire, explaining that something vitally important to him waits somewhere inside that distant nation. But the City Lord warns Holy Sanctuary stands at a far higher level than Divine Dragon Empire, requiring passage through Divine Dragon Academy's assessment and advanced studies before foreign travel. Unintimidated, the applicant declares himself ready to begin the assessment immediately, so C2G raises his staff and personally offers the necessary assistance, opening a special portal while warning the young challenger must complete the road alone, then watches him enter with amused admiration for such relentless youthful ambition. The gateway deposits him inside Resonance Wilderness, a peaceful-looking field filled with rhinoceroses, until one beast silently charges from behind and nearly catches him unprepared, startling the one-health sovereign when its horn suddenly appears beside his face, though a skeleton king instantly bisects the ordinary monster before any damage lands. Another violent fiery presence erupts nearby, signaling the assessment's true challenge, as a level 110 Dark Gold Flame Lion Emperor charges from the blaze, prompting an immediate deployment of Skeleton Kings and the towering Headless Knight, whose combined formation rushes fearlessly toward a boss nearly 70 levels higher, before the Roaring Emperor slams through the front lines beneath a storm of shared damage. The transferred impact still hits brutally hard, proving this Academy assessment deserves its reputation, so the commander orders every ranged Skeleton King to concentrate fire on the blazing target, unleashing a synchronized bombardment that buries the battlefield beneath violent explosions. Yet the Flame Lion Emperor emerges from the smoke completely unscathed and still advancing, then answers with a towering inferno that crashes against the Undead Mage's protective barrier, forcing the one-health challenger to abandon ordinary tactics and reveal a stronger weapon, as he summons Frost, his mythic dragon, directly into the raging battlefield, whose freezing breath tears through the flames and seals the charging lion inside ice, while sustained frost blasts carve thousands of damage from the immobilized emperor, leaving its master almost disappointed that such a fearsome opponent could be restrained so easily. But the wounded beast violently shatters its frozen prison and returns fiercer than before, entering a frenzy state that cloaks its massive body in blackened, murderous fire. Intrigued by the escalation, the sovereign commands his mounted Skeleton King to attack, and the frenzied emperor launches a compressed fireball straight toward the charging knight, only for a Sai-San blade arc to split the attack and carve deeply through its body. Then twin Skeleton King archers rain focused volleys upon the increasingly enraged boss, detonating repeated impacts across its head and torso faster than it can recover, until the exhausted Flame Lion Emperor is hurled backward and finally collapses, yielding Luck Goddess's blessing, 30 epic rage crystals, 26 400 gold, and 12 beginner life spirit stones. As an impressed Academy observer confirms the rapid victory and suspects another hidden class. The blonde observer introduces himself as the successful applicant's Academy guide, announcing student number 1709 has passed before opening a golden portal into the institution, and the newly admitted warrior eagerly wonders how much power this famous academy truly holds. Following his guide through a magnificent white campus toward the registration facilities, where a massive new student cheerfully approaches and asks about his class talent, identified as level 49 Hidden Blood, Sacrifice Priest Kwangshui Chen, while his companion claims ordinary necromancy, deliberately hiding his sovereign class and allowing the friendly priest to underestimate his achievement. Before their guide leads both newcomers toward the academy's sprawling dormitory district, where the luxurious bravest residence initially leaves the pair openly amazed, only for their guide to redirect them toward a far humbler building nearby, explaining unranked freshmen must occupy ordinary dorms until earning classification list positions, drawing immediate laughter from veteran residents who mock the newcomers' mistaken expectations, including a level 66 Venomancer and level 68 Forbidden Spell Mage who dismiss them as weaklings. Chen angrily confronts them, but his calm roommate prevents forbidden fighting outside the formal arena, while the arrogant upperclassmen keep insulting the furious hidden class priest for their amusement, so his companion pulls him away, promising stronger opportunities for revenge will come later, privately deciding to conceal his true strength while studying this increasingly interesting academy. As the guide unlocks their modest room and recommends resting before orientation, then orders every freshman to gather at Divine Dragon Square 1 hour later, while chamber members elsewhere learn their president entered the elite academy and left them managing business. Wealthy World ends their envy, assigning everyone to level while she concentrates on expanding commerce. Before the gathered freshmen trade wild rumors about their supposedly one-eyed level 200 principal, and Chen points out the mysterious academy leader just as he finally appears, an imposing silver-haired veteran with one eye patch, military coat, cane, and overwhelming authority, who calls Divine Dragon Academy the continent's greatest institution, where only strength earns survival, then warns that admission marks the beginning of cruelty instead of comfortable greatness, because constant ranking battles eliminate the weak and force every surviving student to grow endlessly stronger. Before 4 colored portals open to reveal the Academy's 4 supreme departmental mentors, immediately capturing both roommates' attention as the instructors emerge through swirling dimensional gates, beginning with Highstone, the weathered nature department mentor carrying an enormous pack, followed by Bai Hu, the scarred, sword-bearing master representing raw strength, then Lelouch, the composed magic department mentor wreathed in brilliant blue power, and finally eye-patched Amanda, the whip-carrying mentor presiding over the death department, while freshmen learn their chosen instructor will determine the highest power they can eventually reach, making Chen warn his necromancer friend that choosing Amanda could become dangerously painful, since the death mentor reportedly enjoys disciplining her own students with that merciless whip, a reputation that only makes the unflinching sovereign find her department more appealing. So he approaches the purple death portal after Amanda sends her other applicants through, but the observant mentor abruptly stops him before he can follow, sensing an extraordinary death aura and demanding to know exactly which class talent he awakened. He calmly repeats his ordinary necromancer cover, giving Amanda no proof of anything greater, though she knows that explanation cannot account for his overwhelming aura. While he saves the truth, and next morning the blunt mentor begins death department lessons by introducing summoned creatures, demonstrating with an enormous hellfire demon whose blazing body towers above the classroom, while explaining every summoned strength rises directly alongside the power of its caster, convincing the disguised sovereign that this small department's instructor is anything but weak, before an eager student asks whether their class will eventually enter one of the legendary relics, a question Amanda recognizes as the real subject everyone has been waiting to discuss, though she warns even the lowest relic would currently slaughter every inexperienced freshman because relics surpass ordinary dungeons and each unique realm can only appear once, meaning any successfully cleared relic vanishes from the world forever afterward, while some stretch hundreds of times beyond dungeons and require discovering a hidden divine artifact, immediately exciting her students with the promise of treasures beyond normal adventuring. Especially when Amanda confirms every single relic contains exactly one divine artifact, prompting the class to beg for even a glimpse of a genuine relic entrance, and she agrees, deciding they should personally experience the terror of concentrated death energy, before transporting the eager death department students through a swirling purple portal, leaving their strongest newcomer impressed by how many unexpected opportunities the academy conceals, as violet spatial energy engulfs the class and carries them toward an unknown destination, where a colossal cathedral gate radiates a bone-deep chill as Amanda identifies the relic entrance. She explains this is merely one entrance to a beginner relic with gateways scattered continent-wide, prompting the curious necromancer to ask exactly when such mysterious portals become accessible, but openings occur randomly and remain active for no longer than 5 minutes. information he quietly stores while examining the seemingly dormant cathedral doors until the ground suddenly convulses beneath the students and their instructor races toward the gate, realizing with horror that the unpredictable beginner relic has chosen this moment to open, as she orders everyone to flee before its spreading black fog can capture them. But monstrous suction lashes outward and drags the panicking freshman toward the crimson doorway, overpowering even Amanda while numerous students disappear helplessly through the entrance, leaving her desperate to report the disaster and summon the Academy Dean immediately, while the One Health Sovereign accepts his unavoidable entry with excitement instead of fear, and news of the catastrophe slams into Academy leadership like a physical blow, revealing the sudden gateway swallowed all 18 newly enrolled Death Department students, whose beginner relic will still feel indistinguishable from hell at their current strength. So the principal orders immediate contact with Amanda and preparation of an emergency rescue team. Meanwhile, the transported necromancer awakens alone inside a vast, shadowy stone complex, deducing his classmates were scattered elsewhere and recognizing the danger of exploring alone, therefore summoning two armed skeleton kings as escorts before advancing deeper, though the enormous silent interior contains no visible monsters despite its oppressive scale, until a sudden green blade of energy slices toward him from the darkness. The alert sovereign twists aside at the final instant and searches for his unseen attacker, discovering a grotesque level 40 elite dark pincer worm emerging from the shadows, whose enormous segmented body and predatory jaws disgust even the battle-hardened necromancer, though he immediately orders his two skeleton kings forward against the elite, then summons additional undead when the first pair proves insufficient for this armored monster. But repeated sword strikes barely scratch the worm's impossibly durable purple shell, revealing physical force alone cannot penetrate the creature's hardened exterior. So skeleton king mages unleash concentrated fireballs across its massive body, surrounding the elite worm in chained explosions from several directions. Yet even magical attacks leave no visible damage, confirming something unusual protects it, before the enraged monster counterattacks and batters apart several advancing undead, forcing their master to wonder what hidden trait makes this creature nearly invulnerable, until his appraisal sight scans the elite worm for a structural weakness, and identifies a vulnerable armor plate positioned beneath its abdomen, prompting several Skeleton King archers to concentrate every arrow upon that single point, finally piercing through the abdomen and shattering the worm's previously absolute defense, although the breakthrough drives the wounded monster into berserk mode and greatly increases its strength. So the confident commander calls forth his mightiest mounted Skeleton King, who answers instantly and charges headlong into the newly frenzied worm, raising its spectral greatsword to deliver death at point-blank range. The mounted king drives a concentrated cyan strike directly into the exposed abdominal plate, blasting a gaping hole through the elite worm's body and ending its berserk resistance, earning experience and one ruin fragment at the acceptable cost of only 2 expendable skeletons, while its master stores the mysterious fragment, expecting it can later purchase valuable relic goods, before noticing a golden greatsword drop beside the destroyed monster, a level 40 tier 2 siege domain greatsword granting tremendous strength against heavily armored targets, which he reserves for wealthy world before sending his undead deeper into the dangerous relic, where another dark pincer worm quickly ambushes the advancing formation, prompting an uncompromising order for every skeleton king to attack without restraint, and the coordinated warriors, archers, and mages tear their second elite target apart, securing another ruin fragment for the increasingly profitable expedition, until distant voices draw the wandering necromancer outside toward an open desert, where several scattered corpses suggest people entered the relic long before his academy class, since none of the dead wear Divine Dragon Academy uniforms or resemble familiar freshmen, while surviving explorers flee desperately from peak elite monsters they cannot possibly defeat, including frightened relic entrants racing past while warning that the creatures remain directly behind them, only for the approaching sovereign to dismiss their towering pursuer as another ordinary bug, then casually order his undead underlings to finish the elite monster, whose massive body is overwhelmed by a ruthless coordinated Skeleton King assault, leaving every survivor stunned that one summoner could erase the enemy that slaughtered their group. Their relief immediately collapses when another enormous dark pincer worm charges across the desert, sending the terrified explorers fleeing again before its immense armored bulk, while their rescuer calmly calls down multiple blazing projectiles instead of retreating, revealing towering Skeleton King mages capable of bombarding the incoming elite monster, as survivors marvel at summons powerful enough to dominate a threat beyond their entire group, then scramble away together while the undead legion handles the approaching danger. Outside, Amanda reports that investigators have nearly confirmed why the relic opened unexpectedly, identifying another Hisha organization plot resembling a mysterious incident several months earlier, which infuriates the principal, who condemns Hisha as traitors to all humanity, before ordering an academy-wide investigation and a rescue team capable of entering the relic. Meanwhile, the displaced sovereign reaches a swamp after outrunning a dangerous swarm of insects, and notices its trees have grown to unnatural, gigantic proportions around the flooded path, before movement among the vegetation reveals another strange creature lurking nearby, an ugly but weak level 10 swamp worm whose appearance repulses him more than its strength, So summoned mages launch several fireballs to eliminate the creature immediately, burying the giant larva beneath a rapid series of scorching explosions, killing it in one strike and awarding a third ruin fragment for almost no effort. Though he expects these lesser worms may attract their mother before sensing another person nearby, a suspicious death swordsman steps from concealment and introduces himself only as Black Robe, prompting the Academy student to demand how this outsider entered the sealed relic. Black Robe answers that multiple relic entrances make foreign entry completely natural, but his evasive manner reveals he entered for something far more sinister than hunting monsters. And once he confirms his target belongs to Divine Dragon Academy, the swordsman draws steel, declaring his actual mission is to murder every Academy student he encounters, before launching a vicious dark slash downward through the swamp, which the necromancer intercepts by instantly summoning a skeleton warrior into its path. Though one sword strike destroys the warrior and proves this assassin possesses serious power, while Black Robe realizes his target commands Undead and becomes even more interested, prompting a defensive formation as the surrounded student demands a reason for this unprovoked killing, and the swordsman admits no personal grudge exists before mentioning the Hisha organization, but his target casually claims he has never heard of those infamous human traitors, enraging Black Robe into another lethal purple strike that a skeleton king intercepts. Although the supposed innocent reveals he already recognizes Hisha's cowardly relic-bound killers, then promises his undead will make their murderous agent beg for death, while Black Robe coldly insists killing this student will still be effortless, unleashing another massive shadow slash intended to crush him like an ant, only for multiple skeleton kings to surge forward and overwhelm the swordsman's advance. Battering aside his blade with strength the shocked Hisha agent considers impossible, though the violent exchange still forces the one-health commander down amid his looming guards, before Black Robe reveals his Death Swordsman class can resurrect him after death. The revived assassin immediately drives his blade through the necromancer and declares the duel finished, but his wounded victim calmly reveals another secret the killer never anticipated, because life-sharing transfers every fatal wound across numerous undead, making repeated stabbing useless, leaving Black Robe horrified that his supposedly doomed target remains standing, before Death Gaze erupts and traps the assassin inside rings of merciless golden judgment, while a skeleton king closes in to execute the helpless Hisha operative, permanently killing the level 48 Death Swordsman and awarding 17 additional ruin fragments. As Academy officials receive words that someone inside has eliminated a Black Kill member, puzzling Amanda because their rescue team has not entered, suggesting an unknown expert protects the students, though the principal immediately refocuses everyone upon launching the actual rescue operation, and Amanda confirms their assembled team stands prepared to depart whenever ordered, requiring several instructors to help the principal forcibly open the relic's sealed teleportation array, despite warnings the strain could severely injure him and prevent rapid recovery. Yet saving 18 students outweighs the risk, sending Amanda to make final preparations, while the one-eyed principal privately hopes the trapped freshman can survive a little longer, before the rescue squad gathers beneath the corrupted cathedral entrance and receives its mission, as multiple instructors channel their powers into the principal's forced teleportation array, ripping open a blazing red and white portal through the relic's sealed boundary, allowing the elite rescue team to charge forward without hesitation, while the principal and mentors stabilize the gateway long enough for every rescuer to enter. Exhausted but standing, the principal orders everyone to reopen the evacuation array in 4 hours, while the sovereign continues through swampy ruins accompanied by several surviving skeleton kings, remembering that the slain larvae should eventually attract their much stronger mother, moments before an immense shadow descends silently over his advancing party, revealing a level 56 boss, the colossal venomous mother worm, with thousands of physical strength, whose perfectly timed arrival catches even the prepared hunter momentarily off guard, before its circular roar erupts with devastating force across the entire swamp, instantly shattering several nearby undead and throwing their master backward, proving this boss possesses an abnormal attack capable of erasing ordinary summons at once. So he orders the mounted skeleton king to restrain it while reorganizing, and the armored commander meets the charging mother worm with a blazing cyan greatsword, buying time for a skeleton sea tactic as fresh-out undead rapidly flood the battlefield, though the monster's sweeping pink shockwaves tear through entire groups of advancing skeletons, forcing their master to abandon discretion and summon Frost into the relic, whose mythic breath crashes directly against the massive boss in a torrent of blue power, allowing the commander to test an extreme combination of freezing cold and burning force, until the venomous mother worm becomes completely sealed inside thick ice, seemingly breaking its defense and giving the confident challenger another opening. But the enraged boss explodes from its frozen prison with power still rising, transforming into a gigantic purple-black silhouette whose murderous aura engulfs the swamp. Understanding the monster's intelligence, the Sovereign realizes its murderous focus has fixed entirely upon him, so he retreats without shame, preserving strength instead of gambling everything against raw power, while an ocean of skeletons surges behind him to bury the relentless pursuer, creating enough corpses for advanced corpse explosion to become his devastating decisive counterattack, detonating fallen undead until a towering inferno consumes the transformed boss completely, before Frost's breath crashes through the flames, maintaining relentless pressure without exposing its master, and the exhausted mother worm finally weakens beneath their merciless coordinated alternating assault, yielding 5 more ruined fragments and enough experience to raise him another level, along with an epic staff of death granting 70 spirit and stronger summoned beasts, which he immediately chooses to promote despite sacrificing another portion of his lifespan, transforming it into a level 70 legendary necromancer scepter with 350 spirit, whose ability can contract and resurrect any monster personally slain by its wielder, making the fallen venomous mother worm an irresistible first candidate for his command. And the revived boss rises fiercer than before, now completely loyal to its killer, joining 2 skeleton kings as their master resumes his passage across the vast swamp, until a desert zone forces him to dismiss the giants after sensing nearby survivors. Though countless corpses scattered across the sand reveal how desperate their battle became, then a distant movement draws his attention toward another struggle still unfolding nearby, where familiar rescued adventurers remain encircled by a massive swarm of monstrous scorpions, so his radiant arrival declares their lives preserved by another perfectly timed intervention. With no delay, the Sovereign sends a skeleton king charging straight into the endangered formation, where its first opponent proves a level 48 giant scorpion king boss with formidable agility, and the battered survivors cheer as their towering undead rescuer crashes into the swarm, recognizing the same mysterious summoner who had already saved their lives once before. While he orders everyone toward cover and confidently claims the poisonous scorpions for himself, then commands his skeleton mages to unleash a concentrated bombardment across the battlefield, only for explosions to leave the purple-shelled monsters completely unharmed by magic, briefly forcing their master to reconsider the ruins' unusual enemy immunities, before he answers their resistance by preparing something entirely outside ordinary spellcraft, summoning the newly contracted undead mother worm directly above the giant scorpion king, stunning every survivor with a necromancer capable of commanding such an enormous monster, as the revived predator crashes down and overwhelms its increasingly helpless rival, crushing the boss beneath its massive body before the scorpion can escape, earning 4 additional ruined fragments and another level from the decisive victory, though its remaining drops seem worthless enough to reserve for wealthy world's market. After which the rescued party explains they followed reports locating the ruins artifact nearby. Yet their larger group died when the scorpion swarm attacked before reaching it, so they follow their powerful protector onward while he hurries toward the unstable objective, eventually discovering a vast convergence of monsters gathered across the surrounding wasteland, with most classified as bosses, turning the final approach into a far deadlier challenge. Among the embattled crowd, the survivors recognize Senior Yasuo holding back another monster wave, wielding an enormous hammer with such speed that his masked figure blurs across the battlefield, before a crushing downward strike brutally blasts the towering weapon into his target, and he orders everyone to evacuate the injured while he confronts the giant beetle alone, launching himself overhead for another merciless hammer blow against its armored shell, whose impact detonates the ground and briefly swallows both combatants inside a violent shockwave, convincing the arriving Sovereign to exploit this capable warrior while clearing a path toward the artifact, though his sudden offer of assistance catches the exhausted defender completely by surprise, and the senior immediately warns this stranger to retreat safely with everyone else, moments before the wounded beetle summons a massive centipede-like ally from beneath the sand, forcing the masked warrior to unleash crimson blood energy and reveal his hidden reserve, which his observer identifies as the extremely rare advanced profession known as Mad Blood Warrior, while the empowered fighter challenges every approaching insect and swings again without fear, releasing another explosive hammer arc that viciously tears directly through the pressing swarm, at the price of blood energy that multiplies strength but guarantees severe exhaustion afterward. So the necromancer quietly deploys skeleton kings to eliminate smaller enemies around him, concealing greater power from other artifact hunters while quietly collecting another ruined fragment, until the surrounding insects are mostly cleared and the battlefield finally becomes safer. Yet 30 minutes later, reaching the giant tree's front still appears dangerously uncertain, especially with the senior's blood energy nearly exhausted after sustaining his brutal rampage. Just as the battle quiets, an approaching woman's voice makes the wounded senior teener tense instantly, revealing Huo Wu leading several identically dressed black kill assassins toward him, and he angrily demands why their organization has infiltrated this supposedly beginner ruin, though their confident commander answers his hostility with a mocking, familiar greeting, before openly declaring she wants the artifact and expects him to surrender it, because his depleted blood energy leaves him helpless while the surviving freshmen present no threat. Then she abandons all restraint and prepares to claim the prize by force, ordering her assassins into the Bug King's nest while every defender remains occupied, prompting the hidden Sovereign to pursue them despite the senior's urgent warning, as the invading women confront two enormous sentries guarding the dark entrance, and their commander demands an immediate victory before anyone else can interfere, unleashing synchronized blade arcs that tear through the defenders with terrifying precision, while their unseen pursuer acknowledges the squad's dangerous collective strength from outside, deeper inside. A sinister insect queen waits among countless eggs and newborn beetles, promising that her mysterious unborn child will soon emerge into the world, as swarms of purple offspring patrol every corridor surrounding their mother, only for a sudden blade to cleave through one beetle before it can react, provoking the gigantic queen to shield her children and confront the intruders personally, while Huo Wu contemptuously demands the artifact before her patience expires, threatening to burn the entire nest down if the creature refuses her command. The enraged queen rejects negotiation, vowing to slaughter every human and feed them to her unborn child, before summoning the entire nest to descend upon the Black Kill formation at once, including level 50 boss-class pincer bug guards possessing 6,500 strength. So the commander claims the queen while ordering her orchards against the smaller insects, meeting the charging matriarch head-on with a short blade and complete confidence, as the concealed necromancer finally steps into the chamber behind their violent confrontation, deciding their struggle lacks sufficient chaos and offering to intensify it personally, then commanding skeletal archers to destroy every giant egg surrounding the battlefield, sending dozens of blazing arrows downward in a sudden fiery rain, whose simultaneous detonations erase the queen's entire brood before their hatching can finish, driving the horrified mother into uncontrollable fury against the unexpected intruder, until purple power erupts from her body and shakes the cavern violently, revealing a level 100 berserk lord with every attribute nearing 20,000, whose first sweeping attack hurls the Black Kill commander helplessly across the nest, before the transformed mother charges to crush every surviving human into nourishment, only for a cyan undead strike to intercept her next blow beside its master, leaving the startled assassin demanding the identity of this suddenly dominant newcomer, while noticing a single drop of blood before he calmly claims the divine artifact, provoking her entire squad to abandon the queen and rush him with drawn blades. But several skeleton kings materialize instantly, declaring that nobody may harm their sovereign. The assassins stare in disbelief at summons whose overwhelming aura dwarfs their supposedly ordinary master, yet their leader slips behind him with explosive speed, promising death even to an advanced necromancer, and swings for his throat while boasting nobody has ever stolen a divine artifact from her, until the berserk queen starts devouring her own offspring to amplify its already monstrous strength, consuming another helpless insect inside a blazing maw before anyone can stop it, and evolving into King Tyr, finally forcing the alarmed assassins to retreat, though one devastating sweep catches their commander first and sends her crashing away, prompting the furious woman to rise with her glowing blade still drawn, then challenge the transformed queen to a merciless fight until only one survives, driving her dagger downward with every remaining ounce of strength against the monster's charge, before the giant insect catches her body between its limbs and overpowers her resistance, unleashing a brutal crimson burst that leaves the trapped assassin screaming in pain, as the queen prepares to feed every fallen intruder to its surviving children, signaling the patient sovereign that his perfect moment to intervene has finally arrived. So he orders the waiting skeleton kings into a full assault without hesitation, while flaming arrows and magical projectiles bombard the target from every direction, erupting together in a massive chain of explosions across the cavern, before a skeleton king's cyan blade smashes directly into the reeling queen, satisfying their master, who calmly announces that the truly terrifying phase comes next, as additional commanders surge forward and bury the King Tier monster beneath relentless pressure. The assault escalates when advanced corpse explosion detonates accumulated insect remains around the wounded queen, yet the enraged king survives and lunges forward, unaware an even worse attack approaches, as the contracted undead mother worm charges under orders to deliver one decisive blow, and becomes the catalyst for another point-blank corpse explosion against its living counterpart, shaking the entire giant tree so violently that distant survivors fear the divine artifact exploded, convincing even the wounded senior to order an immediate retreat before the nest collapses. While the system confirms the giant mother worm's death, 10 fragments and another level, before the victor discovers a radiant green crystal resting among the wreckage, identifying his prize as the divine spirit-gathering crystal despite its still unknown purpose, which triggers the ruin's closure and a 60-second countdown to forced evacuation, bringing exhausted survivors immense relief as the sealed world finally begins releasing them. While the senior suspects Hisha took the artifact but prioritizes escaping and finding missing students, inside, the sovereign approaches the slain queen after sacrificing many soldiers and his contracted mother worm, as rescuers race toward the violently contracting entrance before the final seconds expire, and brilliant teleportation light pulls surviving students from every region simultaneously, returning traumatized, wounded groups outside beneath the blood-red sky in desperate need of treatment, where the director immediately orders a headcount, reassurance, and medical evacuation, while Amanda asks whether anyone witnessed the victor who killed the boss and claimed the artifact, prompting witnesses to report that they saw Baye enter shortly before the explosion, moments before the missing freshman quietly appears behind the gathered survivors. Amanda immediately questions the returning freshman about everything that occurred inside the boss nest, so he calmly claims a Hisha squad entered first and defeated the monster, specifically blaming Huo Wu for leading the attackers away with the divine artifact, while privately deciding the dangerous crystal must remain secret from absolutely everyone. And his professor accepts the account before sending him away to recover, although the academy director senses his unusual aura and confirms he belongs to her department, concluding that this quiet newcomer cannot possibly be an ordinary necromancer. Before the exhausted student returns to his dormitory and inventories his enormous haul, where Wealthy World's urgent message reveals that news about him is already spreading outside, then she agrees to sell every spare relic drop once he mails them over, leaving him focused on finding someone capable of examining the mysterious spirit-gathering crystal. While Amanda later addresses a classroom shaken by numerous injuries and deaths, announcing academy adjustments and ordering everyone to study the Dark Department summoning guide, before requesting a private conversation with the freshman after class, who approaches without hesitation and asks why his professor summoned him, only to face another direct question about witnessing Hisha fight the boss, which he confirms before she asks exactly what their stolen divine artifact resembled, and his careful answer describes merely a crystal, satisfying her immediate suspicion, after which she offers him a place in the Academy's upcoming special trial class, prompting the intrigued necromancer to ask what this unexplained opportunity actually involves. Amanda explains that the Academy Trial Tower rewards points for every cleared floor, with rising difficulty, and he alone represents their department, causing him to wonder why no other Dark Department student received the opportunity, until she reveals the Academy Director personally granted this exceptional approval to him, then orders him to prepare immediately and report directly to the tower entrance, where the immense structure's height leaves even the seasoned necromancer momentarily astonished, especially after sensing numerous high-level magical monsters imprisoned somewhere within its walls, before the other selected challengers approach and ask whether he is this year's newcomer, prompting Baye to confirm his identity with a calm, friendly, confident greeting, and their leader urges everyone inside because only the final participant remained missing, while the others recognize that this newcomer has never attempted the tower before, so the supervising instructor begins explaining its rules once again for everyone's benefit, detailing 18 floors whose increasing point rewards rise from 1 through 50 across the first 5. When asked about records, he reveals nobody has cleared the 9th floor for a decade, while one earlier student reached the 8th, then directs the challengers toward the official ranking board displayed beside the entrance, showing the lower-tier leader cleared floor 6 in 23 minutes and 47 seconds, while separate official middle and advanced lists await them beyond their first challenge.